What is up, everybody? We are here, not necessarily with an episode, but we're coming to you just with our reaction of the Fiesta Bowl that just went on with Ole Miss and Miami. And man, what a game! That was a great game. Came down to the last second. Carson Beck was able to run it into the end zone on a 4 yard run there to get Miami the win. Trinidad Chambliss tried to lead Ole Miss back down the field, made a couple big passes to get them into distance, and then they threw it to the corner of the end zone. Looked like it could have been a PI, but there was some back and forth hand jostling going on there, and the refs kept their flags in the pocket for what they did most of the game, other than a few tough calls towards the end. There was some pass interferences that went both ways that they weren't necessarily calling all game. So some interesting calls. Let them play for the most of the game. But Miami, they're moving on to the national championship to play in their home stadium against the Big Ten team, either Indiana or Oregon. And we're going to see who that is tomorrow. But this is the third year in a row, the longest drought since 1999 to 2002, whatever it is. The SEC has not been playing for a championship, a national championship. So there's going to be a lot of talk about that SEC champion or conference, excuse me, and how strong is it truly. We'll get into that at a different point, but we're really here to talk about the Fiesta Bowl. Emilio, what are your initial thoughts going in, after this game?
I'm surprised, not too surprised, but surprised. Really, there was a lot that went on. The game was wild altogether when you look at it as a whole, but Miami was able to really control that time of possession. They just were able to do things that I wasn't expecting, particularly Carson Beck there in the end in clutch time. And, not just on the touchdown, but multiple times in that drive where he was able to get a first down in situations where you absolutely had to have it. And on third and six, 3rd and 7, not necessarily fourth down, but when the pressure really gets turned on and when doubt starts to creep in is when you get to that fourth down
Yep.
and your play calling changes a little bit. So you start pressing a little bit more. So he kept everything comfortable. Um, I mean, there was a lot there. There's a lot there, really. For me, I think I don't know how serious Kyle Lacey's hamstring injury was, but they went 20 something plays without running the ball.
Yep.
So when you make a team absolutely one dimensional without really having to do much, and that team still has an opportunity to win the game, I think maybe if the circumstances were different, Ole Miss wins this game, but that's why you play it. You don't, it's not left up to different circumstances. You got to play with what you got. Surprised that they just didn't go with a healthier back and just at least attempt to run, but they put a lot of faith in Trinidad Chambliss, and I mean for good reason. He got them just about as far as he could get them. So, man, there's just a lot there. That was a wild ride.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you mentioned it, the Kwan Lacey, he didn't get a carry the whole third quarter. He went down shortly after that 73-yard touchdown run that he had early in the game. Really broken open the game, and to that point, Miami came out and they were playing Miami football. They really controlled the pace. You talked about time of possession. Miami held the ball 41 minutes and 22 seconds compared to Ole Miss having it 18 minutes and 38 seconds. So more than double the time of possession. Really, in that first half, even when you look at it, time of possession in the first half was 22 minutes to 7 minutes for Ole Miss. So they came out right away, and Ole Miss was able to keep it 17-13 going into half because those big plays really uh, that you had with Kyle Lacey getting that stuff done. But to your point, Carson Beck, I mean that's the biggest thing. We talked about that. Is he going to be able to make the throws in the first half? There were 4 or 5 on third downs. Really, the only third down they didn't convert was that last one. It was 16. He got sacked on the first down play, but he was making a lot of big throws. Now there was an opportunity for them to take a little more lead of the command because he did miss some throws there early on in the game. Me and you were kind of talking about that. Just some of the big throws that he missed was he had Tony going up the middle. If he would have thrown it to the seam, he threw it to the outside. He overthrew a couple guys. So there was some wild throws there that he got lucky that his defense was able to hold up on the back end, and they ran the ball super well as a football team. Fletcher, I was really surprised to see Fletcher not get as many carries towards the end there. I don't know if you noticed that of him not being in the game as much there at the
I
end, but
think
he had
he
22
got
carries.
injured.
Did he get injured?
There was
I didn't
a
know. I looked up and I was like, "Where's Fletcher at?" I don't understand.
He was still playing, but he had came off on the sideline midway through the third
Yeah,
and was kind of grimacing, and they were looking at him, and he never actually went into the tent, but they kind of stopped feeding him there for a while.
they did because Chamar Brown played most of that, fourth quarter. It looked like, and he was getting some really tough runs. I mean, he's a real bullish guy that likes to get that done. But Fletcher was 22 carries, 133 yards, averaged 6 yards a carry. I mean, he was getting some really grinded out runs, and he looked just as dynamic as he has the first two games of the playoffs. The Quan Lacey stuff, yeah. Is it that Lacey's that good? I mean, we've talked about how talented he is, but they've got to have somebody on the back end to where you perceive some kind of threat to the run, to where they're not just pinning their ears back and coming to get you. Now, when he did get the ball, he was able to go and make some really good cuts and gain some good yardage, make some things happen. So it didn't look like that hamstring limited him too much. It was just maybe they were concerned and they just wanted to keep him guessing. So that was that was really really interesting to see. But man, Miami dropped 4 interceptions at one point too. There was a lot of opportunities there that Miami had that they could have made some big game changing plays. There in the second quarter, they dropped what looked like it could have been a pick six to Thomas. That hit him right in the hands, and he couldn't get it there. But man, it was a great game. It felt like a national championship really before the game. During it, just the atmosphere that it felt like from the TV and all that kind of stuff. Even the Pat McAfee and the guys pointed that out. Did you watch the traditional telecast or the?
Yeah, I went with the traditional one.
Man, I go back and forth, but I just like listening to Pat and those guys for whatever reason. So
The other thing that surprised me too is that Miami did things that the bad Miami team does. They were very undisciplined, a lot of penalties, a lot of silly ass penalties, the false starts on multiple drives, and despite all that, those are games where they would typically lose. That's the type of stuff that would cost them a game.
yep,
And they were able to overcome that to their credit. They gave up a lot of sacks, which I was surprised. I did not think that Ole Miss was going to get home.
yep.
And it wasn't like they were doing anything super creative either. So I don't know. It was a crazy game.
Yeah,
Crazy game.
it was. We talked about Beck. He was 23 of 37, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. He also ran the game-winning touchdown in, so he accounted for 3 touchdowns himself there. Marion was his lead receiver. He had that big 54-yard touchdown that really helped him, but he had 7 catches, 114 yards. Makai Toney, man, that guy's a playmaker. He just makes plays. You give him on a short screen, and if you give him just a little bit of space, like you saw in that 36-yard touchdown, he's going to take it to the house any chance he gets. He's been doing that. He's been doing a lot of that. But, yeah, there was times where Ole Miss was able to generate pressure, and then at some point it just felt like when Miami was really controlling the trenches and stuff, they weren't able to get anything up the field, and Miami was kind of running left, running right, running it up, whatever they wanted to do. So it was interesting. The one thing that Ole Miss did really well is that they really schemed well to keep Miami's pass rushers out of the game, right? Whether that was getting the ball out of Chambliss' hands really quick, making him drop really far back in corner, and it did a good job of telling Chambliss to step up in the pocket. Now they did hurry him quite a bit, and he was had to scramble a little bit, throw the ball out, just get rid of it, and they did get after him. So it's not like they were completely ineffective because he was there. They were there in the back of his minds, and they were making plays even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. So don't let that get lost that we're saying that didn't happen. But man, this it was good. Chambliss he had another really good game. 23 of 37, 277 yards, 1 touchdown. Quan Lacey had 11 carries, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. If he doesn't hurt his hamstring, that's the big if, and that's what's going to be the big if going. How his carries are going to be doubled, really, right? If you see that. And how does that really affect the game? Does he get another home run, or is he, getting chunks of 20, 30? I think that if they could have kept leaning on him a little more, that it would have turned that possession, the time of possession over a little more in Ole Miss's favor. Like, not necessarily saying, hey, you're going to have even, but they would have had, 4, 5, 6, maybe more minutes of having the football, being able to get out of some predictable situations that they put themselves in that they had to face, unfortunately. So it was great, man. Trinidad played. He did. He came out, and when he needed to make plays, he made plays. They got into the red zone. That really is where it hurt them. They got into the red zone. They weren't able to capitalize and score that touchdown. They were at the 3-yard line or 4-yard line right there. They had a doink on a field goal that was missed that was uncharacteristic of theirs, and then he doinked it again and almost missed again, but he was lucky that it skirted through the upright right there. So, man, it was a great game. I think it was really fun. On that last Miami drive, we were texting each other and saying, hey, can Beck do this? What's going to happen here? Miami ran 15 plays for 75 yards, a total of 2 minutes and 55 seconds that it took to get in there. Beck went 6 of 11 for 49 yards and then that rushing touchdown there. So pretty efficient. He made the plays when he needed to. He can use his legs in situational I guess in situations, excuse me, I'm searching for the word here, but he can make runs and get the yards that are needed. He had some that came up short of first downs and things like that, but he's always putting his team. He's not scared to go and put the team before him and make those tough plays. So yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we had talked about too about, in order for Miami to not lose this game was scoring touchdowns instead of kicking field goals.
Yep.
And it ended up being Ole Miss that was kicking a lot of field goals instead of getting touchdowns, which is unusual for that Ole Miss team. So, that Miami defense, despite not having the stat sheet to show a bunch of sacks, that secondary lockdown when they needed to, that front held up when they needed to, and ended drives with 3 or 0 instead of 7. And to me, that plays a big factor too, because it looked there for a little bit like maybe we're going to get a shootout, and instead of a shootout, you just got a slow heavyweight fight, and Miami's better at that.
Yep.
So
they were. I did not expect Miami to come out and score 30 points. I think you said whoever gets the 30 wins the game, and you were correct, right?
Yep.
Settling for field goals is that big deal. Third down efficiency was a huge deal here. Miami was 11 of 19 to Ole Miss's 2 of 10, right?
Yep.
They were 2 for 10 on third down. Now, first downs in general, Miami had 28 and Ole Miss had 23. Now, you get those first downs in different scenarios, but really when you get down to the third down, that's really when the money's made and when you can score touchdowns, keep your offense on the field. So that was huge. Total yards, Miami had 459 to Ole Miss's 398, so pretty even there. Penalties were a little more lopsided for Miami. They had 10 penalties for 74 yards to Ole Miss's 4 penalties for 34 yards. So you can bicker back and forth about, hey, we got this call, we got that call. Miami really got the brunt of it towards there. They had twice the amount of flags and then twice the amount of yards. So they were able to stick through there and get it. So, man, this was it was a really fun game. I'm really glad that it came. It wasn't a blowout one way or the other. Really wish that Peter Golding and this Ole Miss team was moving on. I picked Miami by 6. They won by 4. Close enough. I said take the over. We took the over. Or take the cover and all that stuff. So that was great. You unfortunately, you went straight up. Even though we were both rooting for Ole Miss, you picked Ole Miss. You start this weekend out 0-1, so sorry to get you on there. But great game. We just wanted to come on here, just talk about it, give our initial reaction, initial thoughts. Is there anything I'm leaving out here about this? You got anything else that?
I don't think so. I was a little bit surprised too on that last drive of Miami's that Ole Miss didn't go a little bit more zone instead of pressing up quite as much, because they did go zone once in a relatively key situation, and it ended in a bad out of bounds pass because there was nobody open.
Yep.
And you had Carson Beck on the run. I would assume you would do that a little bit more, especially once they got inside the 40.
Yeah.
There's really no reason why you have to be pressing up at that point. But I mean, it is what it is.
Oh, and on that last touchdown run, they ran straight man. That's why there was nobody there on that side of the field too, right?
Yeah.
So you put yourself in these weird situations where you do one thing and then you switch it and it comes back to bite you in the ass, and that's what happened on that play specifically, right? There was no pressure, there was no pass rush there. He was able to, he dropped back, he was looking for something, moved around a little bit. It opened up on him. He stepped up in the pocket, saw the opening, and he screamed the whole way to the. He knew it was his time to shine right there, right?
Yeah.
So it's Brucey's time. Brucey's time to shine. So, anyways, man, great game. The refs were interesting. Those Big Ten refs. I have some different words for them. I think the one thing for me that I just want to say about them is, like, yes, maybe some of those were pass interference. I think some of that was ticky tacky. If you're going to call a game as heavy hitting as they did and letting people play, especially the whole first half, do it in the fourth quarter as well. Don't let it get to 3rd and 8 and then keep somebody's season alive or ruin somebody's season by giving them these pass interferences. The flag came out too many times in the last really 6 minutes of the football game when they picked up a targeting flag early in the game. Now the second targeting flag, I don't think that should have been targeting, but whatever. I guess you could make an argument for the definition of the rule there. But there was a lot of things. There was a lot of late hits that they let go in the first half too. Some of those came back and bit Miami in the ass a little bit towards the end. They were hitting late. I mean, they were getting away with it. So, but anyways, some of that stuff's ticky tacky. I think they should be a little more consistent throughout the game. So we won't get any Big Ten refs in either the other 2 games that we're going to see, because tomorrow you'll have 2 Big Ten teams and then you'll have one representing in the championship game. You don't want to get an unfair advantage, so you'll see an SEC ref or a Big 12 reffing crew in those games. So, yep, Mario Cristobal, he proves all the haters wrong, and he moves on and's got a chance to cement his legacy in Miami football history and become the first head coach to win a national championship for Miami since what, 03, right? Is that correct?
01.
02, 03, something like that, right?
No, they lost in 03.
Oh, they lost to Ohio State in 03, so then it'd be 01. You're right.
Yeah.
So joined that illustrious crew of Jimmy Johnson and then whoever the hell it was in 01. I don't know who it was, but
it was.
I can name players. I couldn't name the head coach, but yeah. So you see
It was it was that coach that went to go coach for UTSA for a little bit. I can't remember.
That's right. It's Coker. Larry Coker.
Larry Coker.
Was he the head coach?
He was.
Damn, how the mighty fall, right? From 01 Miami to starting UTSA. And sorry, UTSA fans. Know what I mean?
I think if Indiana wins tomorrow, that's going to be a real interesting national championship, because they are 2 teams that like to do the same thing to win a football game.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be, we'll see glimpses probably of the Big Ten championship for sure.
Yeah.
As far as like hard, heavy hitting. That's the one thing that I like about this Miami team is they hit, man. And kudos to Ole Miss, because they hit back and they took the hits and they got up and they kept going, right? They let them hear about it. But Miami, they like to lay the wood, and it's fun to watch. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, we get that Indiana Miami matchup. That's what I'm hoping for. I know you picked Oregon, but we will see what happens tomorrow. So a lot of fun. But I don't think I'm missing anything there. I've got a lot of notes here that I was writing throughout the game. I mean, I really was, and I think there's some thoughts that I'll put down maybe on the actual when we do our actual episode. Just wanted to kind of get on here and talk about it while it was fresh on the brain. So, anyways, you good?
I'm good.
Man, well, that's it. We're in. We're out. Under 20 minutes. We appreciate it. Check us out on social media. We'll have reels, everything like that. We'll have a full episode out either Monday morning or Tuesday morning, one of those 2. Be on the lookout for that. We may do a recap on tomorrow's game depending on what's going on in our lives. But we'll go from there, guys. So we appreciate you listening. And we'll see you next time. Peace.